Okay, all right. For people that don't know, I'm a security guard and I work generally late at night. So when stupid shit happens late at night, it's always half interesting and just half me trying to vent that you made me have to stand outside for 2.5 hours in the goddamn cold because you were too lazy to drive 10 feet. Like, no, that's literally what fucking happened. Okay, all right. I'm a security guard for a student housing division where I work. And so half of my job is making sure the students are safe and the other half is making sure they don't hurt each other. And once and there's a parking issue because you have to have parking passes to be in the student housing because they don't want people just shacking up there and partying and trying to live in housing without actually paying any money and shit like that. But basically there's this vehicle that for some reason just can't learn how to park. And I'm not talking about like little stuff here and there. I'm talking like I don't know how, but one time I saw them parked across three parking spaces. Three. And I couldn't figure out. Yeah, yeah, that was the thing. It's like wow, like and it's not like I hadn't left notes and the guards that had come before me had left notes. And so I had told them in like November because I was just tired of it because they had double parked and I don't and I say this is the most perfect double park I've ever seen in my life. And it wasn't just like, oh, you were a little bit over the line or you had like two wheels over. I'm talking the line was in the middle of the vehicle. Like it was perfect. Like you had they had to be fucking trying to perfectly match it up. So anyway, like I told him, and I see him around once in a while, and I don't give a fuck if if they're parked there the majority of the time, as long as they're not parked ridiculous. Now this fucker had to park in front of the walkway and park on the sidewalk, like on the sidewalk, like like nobody was gonna say anything or do anything, just in the middle of the street on the sidewalk. So I'm standing there like, fuck, it's cold. It is the thing. It's like I go on patrols and it's fucking freezing, so I want to do my patrol and get the fuck back inside for my next patrol, so I can thaw. And so I go out and it's just like I see this vehicle. It's like you just had on this night, on this day. It could have been on any of the warm nights. No, no, it had to be tonight when it's fucking cold as fuck. And it'd be different if there were like no there were only four parking spaces taken out of the entire place on that side of the building. Like literally, they could have drove 10 more feet and parked properly. Hell, I wouldn't have given a fuck if you had double parked that day because it was so cold. I wasn't gonna stand out there. But no, you had to park on the sidewalk in the middle of the street, a fucking fire hazard. And it's one of those things where it's just like how much do I hate? Like I had to weigh whether or not how much I hated this guy to whether or not I felt like freezing over how much I hated this guy. And so I'm like, fuck it. I called the tow truck. I wait for the tow truck to get there, which they were, and it out comes like this grizzled, like this dude there's just guys that get out of vehicles, and this dude is a vet, and he was a vet a long time ago, and he'll fuck you up, like cigarette, like half in his mouth, like stubble everywhere, like trucker hat, like he has the eyes of somebody who's actually killed some people. And so he gets out of them like, cool. If something goes down, I know this guy is just gonna. And he was pissed off because it was cold. And he was like, fuck it, money. So I could tell he didn't want to be out here in this cold. He wanted to be in his warm ass truck. And so he gets the and it's this ugly ass like puke green colored Oldsmobile. Like it couldn't even be an attractive color. So he gets the car on the truck, and so I see somebody from one of the other apartments run to one of the apartments that's right next to where we are and like bang on the door, like yelling, "You gotta get told," and she's at hysterics trying to get him out. This dude runs out the door, like shoes untied, shirt half on, trying to act like he's big and bad. Like it's one of those things where he was about to scream "what the fuck" and get mad until he realized I was twice his size. So it was "motherfucker, I do." Oh, hey, sir, what? Why are you towing my vehicle, sir? He got real polite real quick. And so like the tow truck guy, he laughs because he saw this what happened. And the guy, he's always like, "No, we're towing your car, we're towing your vehicle. You're a freaking fire hazard, and you don't have a sticker to park here anyway. So I'm sorry, your vehicle's gone." And so there, he's trying to plead with me. His girlfriend comes out, who he was in there fucking. That was the thing. We interrupted this dude fucking, and it was obvious because she walked out like she'd just been fucking. So it was obvious like you went in there, and it's like I understand that you probably knew you were coming to booty, but literally you 5 more feet and you wouldn't have had this problem this night. And so we're gonna tow the vehicle, and he was like, I'm gonna call my lawyer and I'm gonna call the cops. And the tow truck guy was like, fuck it, I'll call the police. And so he calls the cops because because this kid, like, that's the thing. It's like nobody told me I couldn't park in front of the sidewalk. It's like, dude, that's literally like parking 101. You don't block a sidewalk because that's a fire hazard, and if a fire truck shows up, it's just gonna run over your shit. They're just gonna push your shit out of the way and probably wreck it on purpose just because they're pissed off, and they have every legal right to because you're an asshole. And so the cops, so basically, I have to spend, what was it? Okay, at this point, I was already outside for like 40 minutes. So at this point, I'm trying not to choke this kid because the tow truck driver tells him flat out, it's like, okay, I either tow it and you have to pay 150 and go get it, or I will drop it right now for 75 because that's what tow drivers will do. They'll let you pay them half of what the tow price was going to be to drop the vehicle where it is if they're in the middle of towing it. But once it's on the truck, they get their money. So that's why they'll roll in super fast and get it on the truck fast. So you'll freak out and come out and you'll just pay the money and they'll just drop it and leave. And so I had to wait 40 fucking minutes for the cops to show up. And the entire time, all of us are just standing out there in the most awkward silence imaginable on the planet. Like you can't start a conversation with that shit. It's like, so, yeah, how about this weather? Motherfucker, you're towing my vehicle. Yeah, well, yeah. So the police show up and everything. And I swear this kid had to be half retarded because the cop was explaining to him, it's like, listen, you are literally breaking the law. The guy was doing a favor by just towing you. Because if I had seen this shit, I would have given you a ticket and told you. Yes. And so the entire time, like he's trying to convince this dude, it's like, there's nothing you can do. It's like you fucked up. You are you is that not registering? And I pulled this girl aside because he was apparently supposed to be there to give her a ride to work, but she was apparently giving him a ride first. Um, and I'm like, how are you gonna let him disrespect you and put you all this nigga was too lazy to fucking drive literally 10 more feet. It's not like it would have been a hard park job. There was literally parking spaces everywhere. Everywhere. This motherfucker was too lazy to And so, like, so at this point, the guy has gone from "I'm gonna fuck somebody up" to real polite to crying. Like, and the tow truck driver is like, "I've seen all this shit before. It doesn't work. I don't drop the vehicles when women cry." And he's just sitting there with his arms crossed, just waiting for the cops to convince this guy. It's like, there's nothing we can do. They're not stealing your vehicle. They're towing it, and they have every right to. So he was like, "Fuck it. I don't have such. You mind if I run to the ATM machine?" So I'm like, "Fuck. I've already been out here fucking 2 hours again, so I have to wait for this Negro to fucking literally run to the nearest bank to get $75 out to fucking get this." And then after that, at this point, I'm pissed off. I'm visibly pissed off. And the tow truck driver is like, "Don't kill the kid. I know you want to strangle this dude, but don't do it." Even the cop was like, I I understand, and left out. So at this point, he pays the tow truck driver. The tow truck driver drops the vehicle, and I'm like, you know what? I do not trust this motherfucker if I go inside. So I stood there and I waited, and it looked like they were just gonna go back inside until they realized that I was gonna stand there and watch them fucking move the vehicle. All the shit I've been through, you are not leaving this fucking ugly ass puke ass green fucking Oldsmobile in the middle of the street after everything we fucking been through. You either park this motherfucker and get the fuck out of here now. And at this point, other people are like that were either fucking their own chicks or just parked there or are just trying to get the fuck out of the complex because they're afraid I'm gonna tow them next. And so, yeah, there was a crowd. One of the RAs was in the window just fucking laughing his ass off, like he was giving it. "I told you, motherfuckers, you shouldn't have done that." Like, look, because I called him at like, yeah, that was the RA that had made me tow him the last time because he was tired of his shit. And he was, because I had to call him at 1 o'clock in the morning saying, "Hey, I'm going to tow that dude that we've had problems with before." And he was like, "Go ahead and do it." And so, and went back to fuck to sleep while I'm standing the fuck out there. And so, so basically, a bunch of people rush out of the apartment. I don't know who the fuck these kids are, jump in the vehicle to fucking to take her to work early because she's late to work because he couldn't move fucking 10 feet. So that's why I was fucking tired and I went into a coma and you didn't see me yesterday, basically. Because I might have been frozen and it might have taken me until later in the evening to actually thaw. So apologies for not being here yesterday. If I ever see that fucking ugly ass fucking Oldsmobile again, I swear to God, I'm breaking a tail light. I'm just gonna be like, fuck it. I don't know how it happened. Huh? I'm not out here 20. I'm not out here all the time on this corner, man. Yeah, fucking bullshit. Yeah, like people think it's like, oh, you just wait around. It's like, yeah, that's the thing. I wait around a lot, and sometimes it does get boring. But when you have bad days, you have bad days, man. It's like, God damn it, I'm yeah. Why are you trying to? It's like when somebody's so drunk they're trying to kick down their own door, that's when it's a problem for me. Like everybody else can ignore or laugh at that shit, but I have to do something. God damn it. Yeah. Close down. Oh yeah, Valware. Um a Gawker affiliate. Another one bites the dust. And it was the one that Sam Biddle basically was the head of before he moved before he moved before he got promoted. Yeah, we'll do some air quotes there. So it's nice that more bleed out is showing and one by one. I think they'll probably, after all is said and done, if they don't go completely under, Gawker, the website itself will be the only one that exists. Because the only sites, right, the only sites that they have left that really have any kind of real traffic whatsoever are the Gawker site itself and Kotaku. And honestly, if Kotaku folds, that's enough for me. I don't care about the rest of Gawker. I want it to burn and fry, but I just want Kotaku gone. Just it specifically, which was the goal from the beginning in the first place, was to get Kotaku gone. And people were like, "We don't give a fuck about the rest of Gawker," and then Gawker had to basically be the biggest assholes ever. And nobody wants, yeah, like nobody wants to invest or buy that company when that lawsuit is looming. Because if Hogan wins that lawsuit, every other celebrity that they wronged is going to jump in. It's already on fire. It's just a slow burn. It's enough to warm your hands, and it's a fire. It's a fire warm enough to fuck by. That's my explanation of it. Oh, because there was no way that leak did not happen from their office because they were fighting to get tapes of Hogan from the FBI. Nobody else had those fucking tapes. The FBI had those tapes and they had those tapes. And that there's no other way that if they prove that they leaked that, that proves Hogan's entire whole case, and he might just get the 100 million. He might get more just because they pissed off the judge because they don't have that money at all. Jesus Christ. They would have been all right if the whole coke, if they didn't do the mind coke thing. I think that was the one that them being assholes and them being political and all that stuff. That would have been fine with advertisers to a certain degree. I don't think they cared that much, but the mind coke thing where they fucked up Coca Cola's ad campaign, yeah, that was the one that did it. I think a lot of phone calls like, wait a minute, you just ruined this company's that advertises a company that advertises on your site. By the way, they don't anymore because you felt like making Nazi jokes. Like, yeah, that was the shark jump. Everything after that is just they at that point on their company was going to die. It was just a matter of how it was going to die. Yeah. Yeah, and there's not just that, but there's other sites to go for that clickbait garbage. Like if you want to find clickbait, there's 100 other freaking sites that do that. So it's not like you're special. That's why the whole rebranding into a political site was funny because they knew they couldn't compete with clickbait anymore because there's too many sites trying to make quick cash from clickbait. And
What
so,
exactly did do
yeah.
that Nazi Coke thing? Like, what was the motivation there? Because, like, I appreciate a good Nazi joke,
Yeah. I'm
but
still trying to figure that out myself. Like what? Like why do that whatsoever? Like they did it just to write an article because they thought it was going to be funny. But they ruined their entire ad campaign because of it.
yeah. It's just not very far.
Yeah. Yeah. If it was like a smaller company, yeah, they definitely would have got away with it. But you don't fuck with Coca-Cola and you don't fuck with Pepsi. Is RC Cola still a thing? Is RC Cola still a thing? Like Mr. Pibb? But it is it one it's like why draw that unnecessary attention? Like, and I really doubt that the clicks on that article of, oh, we added Nazi stuff to fucking a Coke campaign. Look at how fucking trolly we are. Her was like
Yeah, it wasn't like the campaign. It wasn't like the campaign was all about like spreading positivity. It's like,
yeah, the
okay,
whole point of the
Nazi
campaign
guy.
was trying to be
Ruin the
positive and
campaign
get people to be
negative
nice
point.
to each other and shit. Let's fuck
Like
that
the
up.
worst possible place you could be trying to do this. It's the actions of a complete retard.
They started hiring trolls and idiots. That was the whole point. Because their whole MO was, yeah. But it's the kind of thing where it's just like, why do this? Like any responsible human being or anybody who just had like simple logic would be like, you know what, this is probably a bad idea. It's funny that you did this, but let's not write an article about it. Like, you could have fucked around. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Gawker isn't going to. BuzzFeed is the king of clickbait right now, not even Gawker. So even if Gawker wanted to be a clickbait site, they're not. BuzzFeed is king, and everybody knows BuzzFeed is crap. So and everybody knows BuzzFeed is crap, but people still go there for clickbait. It's just one of those things. It's BuzzFeed is like clickbait containment. Like, Conan O'Brien does a regular thing where he makes fun of BuzzFeed, where he makes like, yeah, they're known for being that crappy, shitty, like clickbait site. And I think if Gawker had been honest with themselves, like, this is what we do. We do, we're a rag, we're smut, we're clickbait, we're we're a tabloid, they would have been fine. But they kept trying to push that they were somehow reputable or respectable or actual journalists. Like, yeah, you don't see like the Inquirer getting flack for journalistic ethics or being assholes because it's the fucking Inquirer. Like, everybody knows it's the fucking Inquirer. Yeah, professional shit. But it's, yeah. Like, what's the website that stalks celebrities for the most part? TMZ, TMZ, TMZ is become so synonymous with doing this and being, a clickbait site that other like celebrities are just like, screw it, it's TMZ. They're there. They're just gonna be there. They've gotten used to TMZ because TMZ has gotten used to it. It's gotten like so good at just being there and asking like random questions. And if you want it to be TMZ, good, because that's TMZ. TMZ is what they do. And if you're obsessed with celebrities and celebrity gossip, that's where you go. But they're not going around trying to pretend like they like deserve Pulitzers and shit. They just they're just here to talk about boob jobs of celebrities and shit. You can't, yeah, you can't be both. You can't be both. Somebody probably. Yeah, because there's nut jobs that buy the Inquirer religiously and believe everything that's in there, and that's Inquirer's market. People who are too stupid to Google search, and they make a living off of it. No, they put you in the Inquirer category. No, that was the whole thing about that. It's like you're not being blacklisted because people don't think you getting review copies earlier is ethical to fucking begin with. Like, if you're known for leaking stories or whatnot, I don't care what topic that you're writing about. No, but part of them getting blacklisted means they don't get the review copies. And that's one of the reasons they were bitching about because they weren't getting the review copies, so they couldn't do the early review, which everybody knows your early reviews are pointless because you guys are bought and sold to begin with. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Everybody asks if games are good or not, what now, as opposed to actually, and that's it's a kind of always been that way. And there was a press that for a time tried to be the voice for it, but the thing is it's always obvious when you become shills. That was one of the reasons G4 as a network died because it became super good god. Right. And even like I remember watching G4 back in the day, and it was amazing to have, well, here's a network that's dedicated to video games and geek culture, and this is awesome. And you had X Players on the show, but it was so obvious just how much they were shilling stuff. And people stopped watching because people realized, wait, this is an ad. Like that's what it was. Like G4 didn't fall out because, people weren't interested in the content. People stopped watching G4 because it was obvious that they were bought and sold. Yeah. Yeah, you could I usually don't call people dickheads on YouTube, but that's just me. Hey, dickhead. That's well, yeah, if you want, yeah, okay. You have a point. Right. See, that's one of the reasons that's one of the reasons I like watching playthroughs of games. Um especially that's one of the reasons that I don't like I don't buy cutscene heavy and story heavy games because I can just watch them on YouTube and get the story if that's the way it is. If like right. So the Last of Us was an amazing story and an amazing game, but you could have gotten the majority of that game by watching somebody play through it.
which is exactly how I got it. Yeah, there's like a Let's Play group called no the Straw Hat Knows, and it's just he made fun of everything throughout all of it. I could have watched like a version of it with no commentary. It was like, what's the point of that?
That's what I did.
I'm
That's what I did.
game. So it's like I got to see everything, but it was through like a layer of commentary that's covered up everything that was worthwhile. But I still think I've seen everything I need.
See, and that's the thing when a game comes out, there's always they just played through it and they didn't talk over it or comment, and then you have the commentary people who comment over it, and sometimes they can make games better because right.
Oh yeah, there are
But
different.
it's one of those things where that's one of the reasons a lot of companies like try and strike down YouTube videos because once you can see the game and the gameplay itself and how it plays, you can make a better informed decision on whether or not you want to buy something. And yeah, that's why I was laughing my ass off. Like the Assassin's Creed movie that they're making.
Huh?
Yeah, it's filming right now. The yeah, but somebody has taken basically the pictures from um the promotional pictures from it of the characters and photoshopped the teeth and the only teeth and eyeballs glitch that the last Assassin's Creed game and the promotional photos for the movie. And it's like that kind of thing would have slipped back in the day that if that game had come out like say 20 years ago before the internet and whatnot and it had a glitch that badly, like only certain people would know about it. And because of YouTube, that glitch was everywhere and it's become a running gag. And it hurt sales for that game for a reason because that game was shoddily made. You can't like there's this rush there's this rush from publishers to push a game out even if it's not finished and think there won't be backlash because of it because they just think, oh well, we could just patch, we could just fix it in post, we could just patch it later and fix the problems. But first impressions are fucking everything.
To be fair, a lot of the release is patient.
Yeah.
Like I remember following Starbound's development. They asked me to pre-order. I did so, and for the next 2 years, the fan base was just insufferably impatient. They took everything as a sign of the end of the world and just never shut up. The Steam community was basically a wasteland. Not you wouldn't be surprised if it was actually like something you would see in like Fallout Boston, because every single thread was just complaining about how the developers were assholes and they were breaking promises. Like, you want a good game or not? I mean, you can still play it. Sure, you want like updates, right? Well, they're trying to remake it so that it's actually good this time. And they never seem to have understood that. So they just kept complaining. And then finally, we got like a proper update. And it seems like that sort of managed to tone down some of the impatience. And then every time there's an update that isn't out within like a month, there seems to just be more and more of a complaint. It's just you sign into
People
that.
are whining and people are complaining. And that is a big part of the industry. The problem is sometimes those complaints are right.
Yeah, they were actually right in a lot of cases.
Like with the stuff with like the one game that what's the one game where you could rob banks that had some controversy? What was it called? Yes, Payday. That whole Payday situation where your fan base is literally yelling for you to not do something, and you've already promised that you're not going to do it, and then you do it anyway with microtransactions. That like what do they expect? We're gonna do it anyway. Yeah, and it's killed that franchise. Nobody's gonna buy Payday 3, and somebody's gonna make a similar game. Yeah, yeah, and it's trying to extend something rather than come up with new ideas because they've stifled creativity for sales for so long for the past decade and a half that it's hard to take chances. That's one of the reasons that there's certain companies that'll pay to take chances. Like Sony will do that. Sony will throw shit at the wall and see what sticks constantly. And there's a lot of shit on that wall. Right. Right. Yeah, if you want the rest of the game, you're gonna have to give me another 50 fucking bucks. It's one of the reasons, and I'm a fighting fan. I love fighters, but I did not buy Mortal Kombat X just because there's no way in hell I just want a finished game. I don't like they were selling the season pass for the game before the exact they announced the season pass as soon as they announced the game itself. And it's clear these characters are done, but you're just not putting them in to cash in. It was like with Capcom and X-Men. I'm not X-Men. Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I don't know if you guys remember everything that went on back then. Basically, all right, you have a fighting game, and a fighting game lives and dies off of its community because fighting games can last a really long time in terms of community. Um, because people will play it just for fun. It's one of those games where even if somebody is a casual on it, they'll still pick it up like maybe once a month or every a couple months just to fuck around with it. Or when people show up at their place, yeah. And you really don't want to piss off that community because it's a community that's unforgetting. The fighting game community, they'll fucking freeze you out completely if you do some fuck shit. There's no like the shooter community, they'll take it over and over again to a certain point before they get pissed off. You do not piss off the fighting game community. They will fuck you. They will go to they'll go to fighting game competitions, and the best people who are in that competition will still talk shit about what you did on camera for everybody to see. You don't do that. So instead of actually doing something smart, what happened was is Street Fighter Cross Tekken came out, and with any game, people like go through the code of the game and they pick it apart, and that happens with every single game that comes out. And what somebody found out was there are a bunch of DLC characters that were about to come out, but they were already on the game. They were already on disc, and they were already usable. And so what they did is they unlocked those characters to use in online play. And so people were fighting against characters that weren't supposed to be out yet and asking, like, wait a minute, what the fuck? And so that made it a brush fire where everybody found out within about 2 days what went down with that game that they had on this DLC. These characters were on the disc, usable and playable, but they were putting them, yeah, they were holding them to ransom. And the fighting game community went fucking nuts. And the sales for that game were horrible. Nobody bought that game out of, and that's the thing. Like fighting game fans, they will not buy shit out of protest like that at the drop of a hat. And yeah, yeah. The thing about Street Fighter 4, yeah. The thing about Street Fighter 4 was at least they were adding DLCs for new versions of what would have been new versions of the game back then. But they had pissed off everybody so much that they needed a way to get that goodwill back. And that's what we're getting with Street Fighter 5, where you don't have to buy any of the characters that come out after the game is released. You can earn them within game, which gets people to play your game, honestly. But you can still buy them if you want, if you don't feel like unlocking them. Like me, I'm not paying for that shit. I'm gonna earn every single one. But it's that, yeah, and yeah. And another thing is it made like, okay, the problems with pre-ordering is you don't know whether or not the game is going to be good. You don't know if you're going to get screwed by DLC afterwards. And I'm very much, you don't pre-order games. It's dumb, it's stupid, it's ridiculous. But I pre-ordered Street Fighter 5 because beta for everyone. So everybody who pre-ordered this game has been playing it since, um and they do pre-order, they do betas every now and again that people could jump on. And the betas are fun. The game is fun and the game is going to be good. So if I wanted to cancel my pre-order, if it sucked, I could. But I got a beta. I'm not going to get screwed by DLC, and I know the game is good. So I was like, fuck it, I'll keep the pre-order. And that's how you get people to buy games before they're out. If you can prove that they're good with a beta and honestly say we're not going to dick you with DLC, you can just earn this shit. People will buy the fuck out of it. And the pre-orders for Street Fighter 5 are crazy. It's going to sell a lot the first day because there's none of that. Like I know people who are fighting game fans that would be like, well, I would buy Street Fighter 5, but I'm waiting for the next edition to come out that has more characters. And people were doing that with Street Fighter 4. They weren't buying the edition that was out now because they knew another edition was going to come out in like 6 months. Yeah, and the community was pretty much dead. But with this, you can buy the standalone game from the beginning and you're good. And they set it up where you don't have to go through all of the, like, if you want to unlock a specific character, you choose which character you want to unlock that's new instead of, you having to unlock characters that you don't even want or gonna play as. Which there's characters that I'm not going to touch or interested in, so I'm not going to give a shit about them. But there's some characters like I want that one. So I wish. Well, Chun Li's base is, but characters like, because they announced who are going to be the first six characters, that are going to be in the first, because they're doing seasonal DLC, which you can pay the season pass cash and you get those characters off the bat day one as soon as they drop, or you can earn them. So people were complaining about the season passes, like, oh, they have a $30 season pass that you don't have to pay. That $30 season pass is just if you're lazy and you don't want to unlock them. So they could do all the season passes, and I'll be honest, if I see some funny costumes, I'm gonna buy some funny Street Fighter 5 costumes and I will pay real money for it because it's aesthetic. Yeah, and it's the first time I've seen a model. Yeah, it's the first time I've seen a model like that where people were bragging about how good the model was, and so it was driving pre-order sales. If more games did this, more games would sell better because people are apprehensive about pre-ordering now, and they have a right to be. But if you said something like, "Oh, you can earn the DLC by playing the game," or you can unlock this stuff, and it's like if the stuff is overpowered and you can just buy it, you're going to have a problem. But if it's balanced, then you shouldn't have a problem. But it's just, oh yeah, yeah, and it works because the people who are hardcore drive the community because they play and they play a lot and they earn stuff. And the people who are casuals who don't have time to do it, they still want those characters. And so them not having those characters is their fault and their own laziness. So they'll just throw the cash down like fuck it, and they don't feel like they're getting taken because they're not. And I want more. It would fix the DLC problem completely if every company just did this for the majority of their games. Like MMOs. That's the one of the reasons. Yeah, yeah. Right. That's one of the reasons. Yeah. That's one of the reasons I love Final Fantasy 14 is they give so much in terms of like with most paid subscription MMOs of you paying the subscription is because content is going to come out and you want to play it and you have to earn those subs from people, but they release content so much and so regularly that you always have stuff to do so you don't feel like you're getting taken. And when they did do an expansion, the expansion was so big and had so much content, like they could have released the expansion itself as a standalone single player game and it still would have sold well and it still would have been a good game. And they sold it for $40. So yeah, yeah. I don't pay any game that you can beat in 10 hours. I do it by like speaking of like movies, that's how I judge it. Right. You're gonna pay $10 to see a movie, right? And you're gonna get at most, we'll say about 2 hours worth of movie, right? For $10.
Usually I have someone else pay for me.
Oh well Lottie fucking dog.
I give my money, right?
Good for you. But but I say $10, 2 hours worth of content, right? So if you're paying $60 for something, then you can't say, oh well, that 12 hours worth of content is enough. And I think that's the model that they keep trying to go by, where if you're going to spend $60 on something, it's got to be a little bit longer than that. Like I generally won't buy a game if you could beat it in under 50 hours. If you can't, the story mode itself. See, that's you got your money's worth. 4-hour campaign. Yeah. It's
Do
like
you
all right,
think players are
it's
actually
like Gary's mod is the ultimate
multiplayer?
value. No, go ahead.
Well, I've never actually bought Call of Duty, but don't they buy it for like the multiplayer or something? Like I assume there is multiplayer.
Yeah, it's all about the multiplayer for them, but there hasn't a big enough change in the multiplayer to buy. That's the problem. There isn't enough change and like innovation in the multiplayer to be worth spending $60,
What's Call of
once or
Duty
twice a
multiplayer?
year for it. It's like Madden games. Madden games come out once a year, and there's
Yeah, but
no real change in between them.
like are its demographic like made of like 14-year-olds? Because if so, I imagine they're quite easily swayed by, well, we've made a new game, you should buy it, and they probably will try and get someone to
Yeah,
buy it for them, and then they may not
yeah,
be happy.
yeah. See, once they get old enough to have to buy and pay for their own video games, then Call of Duty is probably going to die as a franchise. It's already dropping and bottoming out in numbers to begin with anyway. Most shooters are because of this. Yeah, it's
Here, I guess
extortion.
constant parenting will prevent a second generation coming, coming down like
Yeah,
this.
because it
So
was like I was 12 and I played Call of Duty until I was 30, and now my kid wants a new Call of Duty game that I know is crap, so I'm not going to buy it.
yeah, like that. We're gonna take a generation.
Right.
Maybe it's because we live
It's
in the UK. I've never been interested in guns, so anytime something like makes like kind of emphasis on guns as opposed, it just looks the same to me. I can't see where
it is.
the
They're
merit is.
clones. They're clones of each other. And they've been cloning the same game since Call of Duty Modern Warfare. They've been cloning the same game, and everybody's been making and like if you make a shooter that's original and interesting, I'll play it. Like
I
I'll
heard they
play
got
Deus
doggy.
Ex. Like Deus Ex is a good example of that, where and so are the BioShock games in that, where they you can make a first person shooter, but you don't have to make it bland and uninteresting. You can innovate, you can do interesting things, you can experiment. But most like Battlefield, Call of Duty, Halo, they're the exact same game over and over and over again. And at this point, if you buy those games, then you're fucking retarded. It's just you're an idiot and you've wasted your money. Yeah, it's like right. It's like RPG elements. It's like RPG elements. You couldn't just do RPGs anymore because that whole thing is stale. That's why when people complain about, oh, it's not a turn-based RPG, it's like nobody wants that anymore. That's been played to death. It's been done to death. It was shooters before shooters were shooters. Like nobody remembers just how many of those turn-based fucking RPGs came out. That most of them were shit. Most of these turn-based RPGs were shit. There were very few good ones, and everybody remembers and loves the good ones, but the it was overdone so much that you can't really do turn based a whole lot right now. But the problem is RPG elements have seeped into everything else, and that's what's going to happen. Has to happen to first person shooters, where that first person shooting mechanic has to be put incorporated into other gaming styles. And when it is, it works. You have games like Far Cry, Borderlands, Deus Ex that mix and match gaming mechanics from different genres to make a better game, and they're more beloved than run around and shoot at people and that's it. So it's an evolution thing where shooters have become like you can't just have a shooter where you just run around and shoot people and that's all you do for hours. It's stale. Yeah, you can
Oh,
only because that's what's happened
yeah,
with the Assassins. That's what's happened with the Assassin's Creed series because it's been the same game twice a year for how many years? And the problem isn't that those games aren't necessarily good. It's just that the elements and the things that Assassin's Creed added to the genre are now in every other game now. So there's nothing special about Assassin's Creed because the things that were initially, successful and special have been incorporated in everything else. Yeah. Yeah. Because nobody had seen anything like that now. Yeah. Any the majority of open world games have something like it. Or have it auto if it's low enough. It's yeah, it's yeah. It's like I saw a Rageaholic. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Art has to evolve, and it sucks, but it has to. That's one of the reasons I loved like Rageaholic did a review of the new Call of Duty game, and he went into detail about some of the problems with it. Like you've been doing the same thing over and over, and there's still like problems, things that you would think like that you could push in terms of the genre that you could do that you haven't. Like there's the same animation, like and he brought this up, and I love that he did. Like if you shoot somebody, it's the same animation no matter what when the body's falling. So so if you shoot somebody in the head, yeah. If you shoot somebody in the head, it's the same as you shoot them in the leg and they kill them all. Like you could base an entire
wait,
game off of the mechanic of you like say shooting somebody in the leg and they have to survive with a gimped leg temporarily and having to survive off that or bleeding out slow. I think they've been using the same one for like 5 years now, though. It's reskins. It's reskins. And this new one looks like it's just trying to rip off Deus Ex, but Deus Ex does it better because Deus Ex, because it's a single player game, is more intuitive and more interesting because it has a decent storyline to go along with it. But you can't, yeah, you can't just rip off. You can't just rip off the aesthetics. You have to add in the like Deus Ex works because of the gameplay, not because there's triangles everywhere. Speaking of DLC clusterfucks, Jesus Christ, that was the worst possible idea you could ever fucking happen for a DLC thing. Or people have to earn what's going to come out. Like that went from me buying the game day one to me waiting whether it's good or not. Yeah, yeah. And they're just gonna give them to people. Right, right, right. Yeah, it's piracy. Pirates don't buy games in the first place. God damn it, that's why they pirate. Don't even get me on that. I'm running out of time here.
Sometimes it just
I gotta run out of here soon. Ugh. Yeah. Test run.